I was a fool to think that the AEW fan base would not have any type of response to Road Dogg saying that AEW looks like an indie show. I was wrong. Uh, I thought I could just do a note segment and that was going to be it. But then I looked just a little bit deeper and I started seeing the peanut gallery. So for those of you who maybe didn't listen to my AEW Dynamite review, Road Dogg did an interview on his podcast where he talked about AEW. And he said, quote, "I would talk to them about television wrestling and what we're doing here. When you watch it, it looks like an indie show that somebody filmed with some nice cameras. People will win their match, get their hand raised, and just turn around and walk away. It's like, oh, that's a great shot. Thank you, dude, who just won the match, and now you give me your ass crack and your back to look at. You have to think about this like it's a television show, because it is." He also critiqued the Orange Cassidy Wardlow match by saying, "I wasn't a fan. It took him 18 minutes to give him the jabroni title. It doesn't mean nothing when he was a guy that seemed like he was the guy, and maybe he is in the future. I just don't think you needed to give him that other than the best title. Then it took him 18 minutes to beat the jokey guy. I didn't understand it at all. It was literally booking 101. You put your big, huge, beautiful baby face against this other beautiful baby face with a gang of guys out there. Like, what are you trying to do here? What are you trying to do in this segment? What story are you telling? Is it just a good win for Wardlow? Okay, 6 minutes. Kick me, kick me, kick me. Go for the super kick, and I powerbomb the crap out of you." So people got very angry at Road Dogg, which I should have known. And to be quite honest, should have expected. I should have known better, should have expected better. People cannot take any critique of AEW. Now, to reiterate what I said that in the early part, when he was talking about it looks like an indie show with nice cameras, I said he was talking about mostly the presentation and how guys win and lose in these matches. They don't play to the crowd. They just kind of, hey, I won, then they turn it back on the camera and they leave. Which is, something they used to see a lot in the territories and something you do see a lot in the indies because they don't really understand the showmanship part of pro wrestling. That's what Road Dogg is talking about. He's talking about, hey, you got to think about it like a TV show. When there's a TV show, you have to play to the cameras, right? The cameras have to pick up your facial expressions, and etc., right? Okay. And as far as the TNT title being the jabroni title, they've done everything they could possibly do to squash that belt, putting it on people who aren't over, putting it on people who nobody cares about. So his critique of what they did with Wardlow is actually quite on the nose as far as I'm concerned. It's the same. Now, do you make Wardlow the world champion? I've seen a lot of people say that. I don't know if you go that far. I don't think you just put the world title on the guy. But I do think that if you're going to give him a belt, it should have been a hot belt. He should have been a top guy and took over that spot. So if the TNT title was a top title and it was a title that mattered, then I don't think people would be too concerned about whether it was a jabroni title or not. But clearly, when you don't care about Scorpio Sky and he's not even an afterthought, he's something that you're not even really considering, then of course it doesn't matter when Wardlow beats him because, who cares? But I also said give him some credit. WWE has done something similar with the Intercontinental Championship where it was on Ricochet and nobody really cared and Ricochet lost a bunch of matches. And then they put it on Gunther and now it's supposed to matter because somebody who they're actually pushing has the belt. Which is, a little bit different than how people used to win titles. People used to win titles when they were, over. And then they made the title over, but whatever. So, now that we're all caught up, everybody's on the same page, we can discuss this issue. And the very first comment I saw, and the comment that inspired this video, is from Sedgwick. Now, I usually don't say the names of people who are in these Smart tier segments, but this Sedgwick fella, he used to work for What Culture. I think he still does, maybe. He is the David Brixton of England. You call him David Brixton Span. He is an absolute flat scan. This is what he had to say. Incel Road Dogg calling AEW a bitch after they didn't give him a job. Incel Road Dogg. Coming from a guy who looks like neither man nor woman, nor animal, nor of any kind, whether it be mammal or otherwise, vertebrate or invertebrate, alien or deep sea creature wants anything to do with him. For him to call Road Dogg an incel, very interesting. Maybe he's just using that term. He doesn't really know what it means. Okay, I'm pretty sure Road Dogg, with his history, probably anything other than an incel. So these guys, but he's not wrong, because Road Dogg did want a job after he got fired, and there was some discussions that Billy Gunn was actually going to talk to Tony Khan to give him a job. Apparently it didn't work, and this is why, Road Dogg is lashing out. Could be a good reason why that's the case. But this comment, not only because the comment section for this tweet is actually pretty funny, but the quote tweets are also very funny. One of the quote tweets says, quote, "Get Tony Khan's dick out of your mouth. Tony isn't going to fuck you. Road Dogg was right what he said." Here's the thing though, bro. How you know Tony Khan ain't gonna fuck him? Don't speak for Tony. Tony is his own man. He can think for himself. Don't speak for him. Don't speak for that man. He might. And how do you know Cedric wants to be fucked? Come on, let's chill out here. Somebody says, "What Culture sure has some lovely people writing for it, doesn't it?" There's a lot of Brit bongs that come out of What Culture, and they're absolute morons. Here's another one. Incel little boy diddler calling someone else an incel. That's rich. Stay salty, you nonce. Okay, Road Dogg working with Sean in NXT with a possibly good paycheck. Meanwhile, incel Sedgwick is still crying for one from AEW. It says, "You calling someone else an incel is like Nia Jax calling someone else fat." Okay. That's enough about Cedric. Hopefully we won't stumble into anybody else roasting that guy. But okay, so here's a good one. Since when did indie shows become inferior content? I'm sorry, but wasn't it the indie people that got AEW to be the major competition to WWE? Whether you like the product or not, facts are facts. And AEW is more well-liked than WWE for a reason. And that is because they look more like an independent wrestling show. And I said this during my Dynamite review, that is part of what people like about it. Part of what people like about AEW is that it retained a lot of the indie wrestling presentation. That's what they like. That's what a lot of the wrestlers who went there liked about it. For starters, their independent wrestling reputation is magnified in AEW. Now, that's doing AEW some good as long as these guys keep coming in. That's why Adam Cole and Daniel Bryan and CM Punk and Claudio, all these guys, Samoa Joe, they become huge stars. I mean, when it comes to WWE, they're still kind of big stars. But not really, because a lot of the WWE audience is kind of familiar with them, kind of unfamiliar. They kind of like them, they kind of don't. Where, a part of the WWE audience knows who Claudio is before he is Cesaro. Most of them don't. So it's going to be more difficult for him to get over because most of the fans don't know who he is. In AEW, it's the other way around. Like, even if he had not gone to WWE, most of AEW's audience would have still known who he was because they're familiar with that Ring of Honor product. So that's what people liked about AEW, is the presentation of it being more independent. So let's see. An indie show filmed with nice cameras is DPW, and it's better than anything on TV. What the fuck is his point? I don't know. Chad Wardlow, who beat up his old boss for a new job, versus Incel Road Dogg, who talks anyone who doesn't give him a job. Let's see. Road Dogg gonna be on Bischoff's podcast more often. Somebody says he's right about the indie show comment. Somebody says, I think Road Dogg would be a perfect fit on that podcast with Conan and Disco that plays in a loop in the negative zone. Oh, wow. Don't do that. Don't bring the negative zone into this. Cornette, Bischoff, and now Road Dogg, all salty after not gaining employment. Well, and the next comment does actually, approach this subject, but Tony Khan actually offered Cornette a job, and Cornette turned it down. See, AEW isn't WWE. It's not supposed to be, hence the alternative. If it tried to be, it would have no reason to exist. 2 decades of monopoly have severely warped the perspectives of a lot of people, man. Somebody says AEW's copies Vince's style of wrestling while still feeling like a glorified indie. The Khan hires ex-Fed guys because he knows the rest of the roster are the shits and can't draw a dime. Y'all think y'all have the alternative? Funny joke. Stupid shit you see on the Fed, you can see on AEW. Here's the thing about the whole 20 years of monopoly piece. When it comes to the presentation, WCW even had appropriate presentation for the wrestlers. It would be in the early days of WCW, you would see a lot of that territory stuff. Guys would, raise their hand and the camera will be on their back. You wouldn't see what was going on. But when the Bischoff era came around, you would see guys play to the hard cam. You would see a guy like Goldberg. He wouldn't turn his back to the crowd. He would face the hard cam and rah or whatever. Who's next? And that's what gets people involved in it. He's just telling you what works. It's like, it doesn't matter whose idea it was if it works. This whole idea that we had to be anti everything. It's like, if you don't adopt at least some of the ideas of what we know works, then what are you're just copying failure at that point. You're not really innovating because AEW isn't really doing anything different than, I guess they're doing something different than, say, TNA or WCW in so much as they're doing like barbed wire matches and stuff like that on TV. Like, we've never seen that kind of stuff on TV before. I don't even think WWE's even done barbed wire matches on TV or matches with barbed wire in it. I think they might have done a Mick Foley match here and there who would have barbed wire in it. But like WCW had no barbed wire matches at all, as far as I know. But or matches with barbed wire in it, I should say. And ECW were not allowed to have any barbed wire matches on TV because, they was on TNN and they didn't even want to have music videos. So, it's an interesting thing. So they're doing something different in that respect. But as far as their presentation, the presentation is the same as, every indie I've ever watched. Road Dogg only got his job with WWE because of his father's legacy and his friendship with Hunter and Sean. Otherwise, he was a glorified jobber his whole career. Name anything he did special besides teaming with Billy Gunn. Spend my days working hard on the go. No. He did do that, though. He did actually sing that song. And for some people, that was good enough. He was a big part of Jeff Jarrett's initial push. But this, to me, and I think this next comment is going to actually kind of attack this argument, that Road Dogg was one of the most over guys of the Attitude Era. And his tag team with Billy Gunn was one of the most over tag teams in the history of the business. People still, you can put the opening to the New Age Outlaws in a tweet and you can still hear it in Road Dogg's voice in your head. Like, he has one of the most memorable voices in WWE history, not just, In My Baby Tonight, but all the New Age Outlaw stuff, and it's still over. It's still more over than anything anybody else has done, especially anybody in AEW. But more important than that, how can we say that, okay, outside of teaming with Billy Gunn, what else did he do? It's like, okay, outside of teaming with Animal, what did Hawk ever do? Outside of teaming with Hawk, what did Animal ever do? It's like, that doesn't, come on, he's a tag team wrestler. I know he was the Intercontinental Champion once, but that seemed almost by accident, and even he said that he shouldn't have been Intercontinental Champion. But the guy got over, being in tag teams. He was even a tag team guy in TNA. So it's kind of weird that that's the direction we would go in. Okay. Let's see. I'm so tired of these dudes from the Attitude Era thinking that we need to hear their opinion about today's product. They're just shitting on the boys, which in any era is not cool. He didn't really shit on the boys. He shit on the company's production and he shit on the company's booking. He didn't say anything about the boys. He didn't mention any individual wrestler. If he had attacked a wrestler, I would say so. But he didn't. He said that it looks like an indie show and that they gave Wardlow the Jabroni title. If anything, he talking about how they should have put Wardlow over more. They should have put him over stronger, which is the opposite of this tweet. And this guy has every flag known to man in his I forgot to do the flag count, but we've got a Ukrainian flag, gay flag, and a trans flag, and a feminist icon, and a he/him pronouns, and Black Lives Matter, and pride, and everything. This guy's just full ally. He has no personality whatsoever. Let's see. Ask Road Dogg what he was in TNA in the late 2000s when he and Billy Gunn were doing that awful Voodoo Kin Mafia gimmick. Begging for a job from WWE while in TNA, leeching off Jeff Jarrett. A job in the booking committee? Go get a job scrubbing toilets like Jim Duggan in WCW 2000. I would rather not talk about Road Dogg and TNA because it was not good. I'm pretty sure it wasn't a good time for him either. That's probably one during his more drugged out days. In fact, that whole thing with him and Billy Gunn and TNA was a really ugly time because he was talking shit about Triple H. I'll never forget. That was one of the first shooter interviews I really saw, though. It was Billy Gunn and Road Dogg sitting around talking about how Triple H is holding back Randy Orton. And I was like, what the hell? At the time, I really didn't, I really wasn't thinking about it. Because I was like, is it true? Like, I always give guys benefit of the doubt. I'll kind of look at it and see if it's true or not first. I didn't really look at it from a bitterness perspective until a couple of, maybe a couple of hours later. But I was just kind of like, well, is it true? Is he holding back Randy Orton? I don't know what was going on at the time, but I know Randy Orton wasn't the top guy. He was a top guy, but he wasn't the top guy. And people continue to say that. I think Ric Flair just said that recently, that they still holding back Randy Orton. It's like, goddamn, it's been 20 years. Come on. But the Voodoo Kin Mafia stuff was really bad. It was really, really bad. Let's see. He's not wrong. It is an indie show. There is nothing major league about AEW. Somebody says, if the major leagues involved old past timers, wrestlers getting pushed based on who they're related to, and the Miz feuding with Logan Paul, then I'd much rather stick with the indie show. If the major leagues involve old past timers, you mean like Sting? Like Jake the Snake Roberts? Like 40-year-old Lance Archer? Christian? Like Samoa Joe, who is like consistently injured? How about CM Punk? How about Bryan Danielson? Do we need to count the 40-year-olds in AEW? Do we need to do that? Because I noticed we stopped talking about the age of wrestlers when AEW started getting a lot older. We stopped asking questions. This Sedgwick dude was the exact guy who says that I forget what match it was, but he was talking about the combined age of this match is yada, yada, yada. And I know they don't do that gimmick anymore, what the combined age of the match was, because now it doesn't matter, because all we care about is we got our indie guys, and a lot of them are going to be 40, so we don't do that anymore. And he said wrestlers being pushed based off of who they're related to. How about who they're friends with? Because almost all of the people who become a champ, especially a tag team champion in AEW, they're friends with somebody. They're good buddies with somebody. They might not be related to them, but they're best good friends. In fact, a lot of people who have high-level positions in AEW only got there because their friends are. Look at Colt Cabana. He's getting booted over to Ring of Honor because of who he's not friends with anymore. Very, very odd. And plus, Logan Paul is a celebrity. So I'm pretty sure if AEW could get a celebrity, they would probably put one on TV. Somebody, which is hilarious because the first response to that response is, can we look at their heavyweight title holders? Punk and Jericho aren't exactly spring chickens. Somebody says that it's compared to Goldberg. What are you talking about? Goldberg and Jericho are, pretty much contemporaries. I think Goldberg is a couple of years older than Jericho, I think. But he's also far more over, and he's actually far more interesting. Well, Well, when he first made his return in 2016. Jericho had done the left and came back thing, but Goldberg was gone for 12 years. Goldberg might not be much today because of his returns have been a little too often. But I think that when you try to single out Goldberg, when you got Jericho on the show, wrestling in barbed wire, come on. Eddie Kingston is not no spring chicken either. Eddie Kingston is in his early to mid 40s. Come on. And they just main evented the most recent Dynamite. This seems pretty dumb. All right, here comes, let's move on. Let's get another one. To be fair, AEW have somewhat bungled Wardlow a bit coming off the MJF feud. I hope they get more serious with him, but so far they've not carried on with the same caliber of booking he got going up against MJF. Well, that's because sometimes people only have really one good story planned. And then after your one good story, you really don't have much of anything else. Look, it's the Virgil situation, you know? You've got that one story and it makes you look great because the heel has so much heat that it's easy to get over. But now you have to find somebody else to work with and there really isn't anybody. So, you know, Tony Khan hopefully can turn it around. I'll give him some credit. Hopefully he can turn it around. I just don't understand why Road Dogg had to bring an innocent man who is just doing his job, who has nothing to do with any of this. He has issues with TK and AEW, not Wardlow. That was unnecessary. He's talking about how they should push Wardlow more. That's what he's talking about. He's not attacking Wardlow. Oh God, what a moron. Okay. Somebody said, this is the equivalent of sending a girl a text and calling her a bitch when she doesn't answer in 31 seconds. And somebody else added, calling them fat and ugly after you just got done saying, ooh, baby, you sexy. This is true. This is true. He did try to get a job. And Billy Gunn was talking. Billy Gunn should never put it out there that he was talking to AEW by bringing him in to get a job backstage. And then this attack just kind of came out of nowhere. So this was great. What a great response. Carney's got a Carney. Who's the Carney? Is it Road Dogg or is it AEW? I don't know. Who's the Carney? Somebody says, I don't think Road Dogg should be pointing fingers about how things look these days. Just saying. What is he talking about? Is he talking about NXT? Which, you know, look, NXT is doing great. I'm enjoying NXT. I think that, you know, when NXT was doing fine, nobody was giving the backstage any kind of credit for it. Nobody cared. It was all just, the talent is so tremendous and amazing. That's how you could tell that they weren't really into NXT as a brand. They just liked a lot of the guys that was there. Because as soon as the company became more about people that they didn't know, all of a sudden the show sucks. When, you know, they weren't really willing to give it a chance at first. So, okay, let's go into it. Continue back into this thing. Road Dogg wouldn't fit in AEW. I don't know. How would you say that? Because of what exactly? Now, you could say maybe his philosophies wouldn't work, which it might not. AEW is trying to do something specifically different to WWE. But the problem is that's really what he wants, you know. He wants it to look more professional. But if they don't want to look professional, then they don't have to, I guess. You know, they can continue doing what they're doing. Road Dogg really hurt some feelings. Get thicker skin, guys and gals. Absolutely true. I mean, I'm pretty sure Tony Khan's going to respond to this. He better not. Somebody says, also, the ideal of an indie show with good cameras is hella appealing to me, to be honest. Like, yeah, you and all of the 234 people who follow you. Seems kind of stupid to me. Somebody says, this is ironic coming from someone who got famous when WWE was gritty and looked more like AEW does now. That's false. AEW has a fan code of conduct where, you know, everything is, they have all these rules for the fans to follow. It's very weird. Somebody continues, this is what an indie show looks like to you, Road Dogg. And it's a picture of AEW Grand Slam. This is from September of 2021. No wonder AEW refused to hire him. With an attitude like that, I'd be surprised if anyone picks him up. He'll probably go back to WWE anyway. Basically, I guess they didn't see the attendance for this week's Dynamite. They didn't see that. That was very bad. I don't know. If you have to go back to September, that would be like if somebody said WWE is hot as ever and they showed some crowd from, I don't know, what was it, John Cena and Roman Reigns from what, it was almost a year ago. It's like, that's not the most current crowd. It's not a recent crowd. It's like the AEW Grand Slam show is a show that they put Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson as the opening match, which was the biggest match they could possibly do at the time, outside of maybe Kenny Omega and CM Punk. So, of course, the building was full. What about after that? Like they've had, I don't know how many shows since then. You're cherry picking. You're cherry picking the audience. Like I could cherry pick the audience and post what the most recent Dynamite looked like. And it looked like, it didn't look good. Let's put it like that. But it doesn't make much sense. Somebody says basically a big indie show. Yeah. Somebody, of course, is correcting. He's talking about the production of the show. Other people are also cherry picking, posting Dynamites from probably last year, just from what it looks like. It don't look like no Dynamite from this year. I can tell you that much. Road Dogg might be a racist dickhead, but he's right about this. What makes him a racist? That's what I want to know. What makes him a racist? I don't understand. What is something? Am I missing something here? I don't know. Let's see. Road Dogg throwing a tantrum because AEW wouldn't hire him is unbelievably funny. Is it? I don't think so. So maybe saying it looks like an indie show, he thinks they'll be more convinced to hire him. We're small time lads called BG James. You know what? If Tony Khan is into cocaine, then I think having Road Dogg around is probably for the best. Who knows more about cocaine than Road Dogg? Well, I guess Shawn Michaels. I think that would probably be it. Here's the deal. If the following people comment on professional wrestling, just ignore them. They don't know shit. Road Dogg, Eric Bischoff, Disco Inferno, Jim Cornette. So all the people who have been successful at this wrestling thing, maybe to a lesser degree, Disco Inferno, but Road Dogg has been wildly successful. Eric Bischoff used to run the number 2 wrestling promotion in the universe. And not just, hell, at the time it was number 1 at a time. And Jim Cornette has worked for every major wrestling promotion except AEW. And was a great photographer and a historian and knows almost everything there is to know about wrestling, inside and out. Inside the ring and outside the ring, Jim Cornette is a very knowledgeable man. To tell people to not listen to him is ridiculous. I understand you might not like what he says, but you can't, there's certain things that Cornette likes that I don't like. Certain things that he agrees with that I don't. But I can't argue with the amount of experience that he has. And that comes with a certain amount of knowledge. And I'm not saying appeal to authority, what he says is right. But what he says quite often ends up being right. So it's very weird. But I don't know, man. Telling people not to listen to guys who are incredibly experienced in the business, especially if you are a fan of some kind of wrestling podcast, seems kind of nonsensical to me, because most wrestling podcasters know fuck all about wrestling. To be honest, they know fuck all about storytelling. They know fuck all about sports. They don't know anything about anything. They're just nerds sitting in rooms. I don't know. I'll listen to my share of them. Good luck getting anything of worth out of that. Let's see. If you put a wrestler who works his ass to look like a wrestler against a joke and a mockery of the sport, of course he's not going to look bad. Nothing wrong with Road Dogg's thoughts. Wardlow is a beast and squashed 20 security guards. Cassidy shouldn't have gone 3 minutes. Well, look, the problem with the whole 20 security guards thing is, yes, it really did make Wardlow look like an absolute beast, but all of those security guards were bigger than Orange Cassidy. Now, if you wanted to argue that Orange Cassidy is more experienced or whatever, sure. But you have to actually show that. And they didn't really show that either. It just didn't make much sense. And then when Orange Cassidy is 40 years old and, well, he's like 38 or something like that, and he's pretty skinny, it's not, it's very difficult to take that kind of seriously. But it is what it is, man. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Let's get to this. Someone tell Road Dogg that the McDonald's down the my street is hiring. I'm sure he's very interested in that. He should go work at McDonald's. Like, you know, he's got, I don't know, 40 years of wrestling history. You know, comes from a family that was really good at wrestling. But hey, I know more than him. He's wrong. Anyway, here's a common theme. Eric Bischoff wanted a role in AEW. AEW said no. He went from praising them to trashing them. Road Dogg wanted a role in AEW. AEW said no. You see the trend. Then they start talking about, I'm guessing this is going to be Girl on Cinema, where somebody says, didn't the girl on YouTube get busted by AEW for using copyrighted footage? So she started to use her channel to crap on the company. Yes, just like everybody is angry at WWE for something or other, working with Saudi Arabia, not giving the title to Zack Ryder, and all that other kind of shit. And so they're using their channels to attack them. You know, oh yeah, WWE sucks because Daniel Bryan didn't win the 2015 Royal Rumble. I mean, everybody can play that bias card. It really doesn't do you any good. You know, yeah, it might even be true. I might even be able to accept that Road Dogg wouldn't be talking shit about AEW if he worked there. Maybe he wouldn't. That doesn't make him right or wrong. You know, if he was wrong, I would say he was wrong. But he's right. You know, the guy's right. Let's see. Nah, McDonald's is too good for him. What? He needs to crawl back to WWE and beg for a Legends contract. Boy, that would devalue the title Legend for sure. I'm surprised they haven't retroactively given it to Disco either. He's not a legend? The New Age Outlaws aren't a legendary tag team? I'm just gonna let you sit in silence for, half a second to, digest the crazy stuff that I'm sitting here looking at. It's like, somebody told this guy how about you tag him or say it to his face? Said The Rock, Stone Cold, Goldberg all got the quote jabroni title, I guess. Road Diggity Dogg might be back on the pills and booze. Look, he's not talking about a mid-card title. That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about the belt nobody cares about. The bottom line is when The Rock was the Intercontinental Champion, the Intercontinental title mattered. At least later. I know when he was the Intercontinental Champion the first time, maybe it wasn't that, it may have been a jabroni title then. Stone Cold was the Intercontinental Champion, the belt mattered. When Goldberg was the U.S. Champion, he made the belt matter because he was undefeated. Even though, Raven, here and there when he beat Raven for the belt, and I think Raven beat, was it Benoit or DDP? I don't remember. But it certainly wasn't like a complete and total J-Bron who wasn't over. When Wardlow beat Scorpio Scott wasn't even over. He had been getting pushed, but he wasn't really over. Nobody really cared about Scorpio Scott. So, very interesting. Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody else. TK to Road Dogg. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's great. Oh, wow. Road Dogg being at the final Nitro looking for work and finding out it was bought by the company that just fired him was always a laugh. Oh, is that true? Is that a true story? Because if that is, that's hilarious. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's great. I really hope that's true. I just like for that story to be true because it's funny as hell. Here's an even funnier one. Tony Khan didn't call somebody. For every moron on the internet, there are some people who are genuinely funny. And I genuinely enjoy the hilarity of this kind of thing. This is funny. So, oh God, let's see. Road Dogg was just twerking up and down the timeline for a job for 2 months straight. I guess TK finally said no, and now it's time to do what these boomer retired wrestlers do best: go full blown AEW bad, trying to sell a podcast. Which, you know, is a good point. It's a good point. It's a good point. Just like everybody leaves WWE and does the exact same thing. Oh, you're gonna go to AEW, go on their podcast and talk about how, you know, why I didn't make it. It's because of booty butt cheek shorts. It was because of, you know, they don't really like wrestling. It was because, you know, everything, my eyebrows are uneven. They're really petty. They told me they don't like my girlfriend or some shit. It's almost always something. And then people have no problems taking criticisms from people who were fired from WWE. You know, I would, that's the kind of people I really wouldn't listen to. It's like, yeah, you're kind of bitter. You got fired. Of course, sometimes you're going to go out there and you're going to tell the truth. And that's sometimes the only way you're going to get the truth. If you got to piss somebody off first. But maybe that may be a good point. Maybe Road Dogg was being nice because he wanted a job. But then he found out he wasn't going to get it, so he decided to start telling the truth. Or maybe he's lying now. You know, that's the thing about whole shoot interviews, right? You don't know who's telling the truth because you don't know what's going on in their state of mind at the time. The only people who really kind of tell the truth are the people who are incredibly detached, who probably don't want a job and wouldn't take one if they were offered one. You know, those are probably the only people that you can actually accept honesty from. Because people who work at a place are not going to tell the truth about it. And people who want to work at a place are not going to tell the truth about it. It's like if you're not going to tell the truth to a girl you want to fuck. Just like you're not going to tell the truth about a girl you're already fucking. You know, but if a girl you're not interested in, oh, you'll tell the truth all day. You know, like I don't care about her. You know, and likewise, just switch to genders if that's your different preference or whatever the case may be. People are always nicer to folks that they want to be involved with. They want to, you know, so you're not really making a profound comment there, but you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. All right. Somebody says he didn't have a chance, not with everybody tweeting Fire Road Dogg every week while watching SmackDown. I forgot about that. I did forget about the Fire Road Dogg thing. Ooh, that's a good point. That was several years ago, though, wasn't it? That was a long time ago. Because when he moved to NXT, I think that was around NXT 2.0, I think, wasn't it? Or shortly before? Let's see. Not surprising he would behave like that because he and Billy did the same thing when back in Impact when WWE refused to take back Road Dogg and Billy. Hell Hunter was outside the arena laughing at them. Yes, I think I talked about that, didn't I? I didn't remember Triple H being there, but I do remember them going and doing a shoot interview talking about he was holding down Randy Orton. Let's see. The Jabroni title is actually in WWE. It's called the 24/7, and they had Mick Foley present it. Guess that tells you what Vince thinks of Mick. Yes, because the hardcore title was an absolute joke, which was also presented to Mick Foley by Vince McMahon. You know, that title was also a joke. So, I think that the 24/7 title was just made in the spirit of the hardcore belt. That's why they had Mick Foley do it, because he was the first hardcore champion. You know, I guess that would be the case. So, very, very weird that you would say that. Call me crazy, but an indie show filmed with nice cameras sounds pretty rad to me. Yes, you and the 1,276 people who follow you. I'm guessing, you know, if Ring of Honor can get that many people to pay for their pay-per-views, they'll talk about how it's the greatest thing of all time. Let's see. Oh, you don't want to hire me? Then I'm going to bury you till you hire me. It worked for Cornette, Bischoff, and Russo. That doesn't work. You know, I'm going to bury you until you hire me. That doesn't work. That doesn't work at all. But it's more like, you know, hey, fuck you anyway. You know, it is what it is. It says, Road Dogg summed up the mentality of a WWE brain without his quote about AEW looking like an indie show. WWE's ratings have been on a one-way decline since I first started to develop pubes. And their answer is always new set, more LED boards, a new GM. Never addressed the big problem. Okay. But what does this have to do with his critique of AEW? You know, what does it have to do anything with AEW? Again, what is a legitimate criticism of AEW? What is a legitimate criticism of AEW? AEW's ratings are also declining. You know, and I'm pretty sure they are the ones who interrupted the whole, but the demo, you have to talk about the demo, the almighty demo, the demo gods. They're the ones who started that kind of shit. I never used to see Vince McMahon go on TV talking about, oh yeah, our ratings are down, but look at our demos. You know, maybe in trade magazines you would see something like that, but they never went on TV talking about the demo. They never tweeted about the demo or anything like that. They don't care. All they care about is whether the check's cleared. You know, they got all these guaranteed contracts. All they care about is whether the check cleared or not. All right, so let's quickly move on from this. More AEW versus WWE stuff. It says, the problem is Rhodey can't see storytelling unless it's the way WWE tells stories. Anything that deviates from the WWE formula is seen as lesser when it really shouldn't be. That's true. I can agree with that. Some people don't like, you know, different ways of telling stories, but the fact of the matter is AEW doesn't do a good job telling stories. They just don't. They will throw some shit together at the last minute, and then the wrestlers who are, you know, usually pretty good because they've, you know, been around for a long time, they make the most of it. Like Eddie Kingston and CM Punk. Just imagine, I think they only had like 2 or 3 weeks to build that match. Imagine if they'd had 3 months. You know, how much they could have actually increased business. They could have actually increased the ratings overall if they'd have had 3 or 4 months to tell their story. You know, and they didn't do that. They gave them 2 or 3 weeks and then had the match. And while for some people that's enough, oh, that's great. They did a great job. For other people, they're kind of like, yeah, you kind of smashed it all together. And then it was on Rampage, and I really don't care for Rampage. You gave people all these ways to critique the show instead of just doing things the right way the first time, you know? But whatever. Says lots of indie shows have boom cameras and full arenas. Smart Road Dogg is very smart. Here's the thing about full arenas. When you have 300 people there, 1,500 or some shit, I think somebody said that GCW, which is, I guess, technically the number 3 wrestling promotion, they had like 700 people in the building once, and that was considered a sellout. 700 people? That's like Kanye West's birthday party. You know, like, this is, it's a joke. Like, I saw somebody talking about Impact's attendance. I think it wasn't even 3,000. I think it might have been in that GCW range, where it might have been like 300, 400 people or something like that at a taping they had. It's like, bro, there are more people go to the club on a Saturday than go to Impact or GCW or anything like that. Let's chill here. And I know AEW is running smaller buildings now too. They're selling, you know, they're trying to go into 3,000 seat, you know, shows or whatever like that, and they might be doing okay. But let's chill here. You know, just because something is sold out, what is the capacity? You know, because if let's say SummerSlam doesn't sell out and the capacity is 60,000 people, all right, that's still going to be, even if it doesn't sell out, if they get 40,000 out of 60, it's not a sellout, but they still got 40,000 people to show up to an event. That's still a lot. That's still a lot of fucking people. You know, that's a major sports event. If you're talking about, we had a sellout of 700, you're like, okay, that's a lot of people, you know, for a small promotion, sure. So we're talking about scale and relativity here. So I think we shouldn't be comparing these two things, because WWE's running 700 people, there's going to be a bunch of people getting fired. I guarantee you that. Vince will fire himself if, you know, only 700 people show up to Raw. He'll fire himself. He'll be like, shit, I'm done. You know, I'm out of here. It's not even worth waking up in the morning for 700 people. You know? So let's not get too much into the weeds there with this. Somebody says, quote, I mean, that's what Omega and the Bucks were going for. They literally said they're not trying to compete or make it look like WWE. That's Tony Khan and the AEW fans that are obsessed over making it look like WWE. I've been an AEW fan since day one. And the indie look, and I think he cut himself off. Sorry, yeah, it was a 2-parter. And genuinely hate the fact that it's turning into WWE little by little. And the new fans will never accept it because they're fucking robots and sheep that will eat anything up. I don't understand that. We got off the rails quick here. I guess the goal was that the Omega and the Bucks didn't want AEW to look like WWE. They wanted it to look like an independent. But Tony Khan wants it to look like WWE. Tony Khan is the money behind that thing. So I'm guessing that what he says goes. Like, I would think I'm the fucking boss if I'm the one paying for it. I don't give a fuck what Kenny Omega and the Bucks wanted. Uh, I'm the fucking boss. You feel me? Um, how weird is that? But Kenny Omega and the Bucks, this is what they wanted. Like, what? Are they funding this motherfucking venture? No, then let's move on. Oh no, Road Dogg said something negative about AEW. The Twitter marks now have to freak out, claim he's irrelevant, and cancel him. Maybe if AEW doesn't want people to insult the TNT Championship, AEW should respect their belts more. No more interim champ BS. It's not even the interim title stuff. Interim just means placeholder. You're just a placeholder champion. That's it. It's not a knock against you. It's just you're a placeholder. You're the top guy until the top guy comes back. And then we figure out who the real top guy is. It's just Tony Khan's way of trying to build up a Moxley CM Punk match without having to come up with an engaging storyline or turning anybody heel or anything like that. Which would actually generate far more money than just putting names on posters, which is what AEW does, you know? All right, let's see what we got here. If AEW looks like an indie show, what the hell was TNA? Road Dogg must have gotten a sorry dude, they're not going to bring you in text from Billy. TNA looked original though, because TNA had that six-sided ring for a long time. So it had a unique look. And that unique look made you kind of forget that they didn't have their presentation up to snuff at the time. So early TNA was similar to what AEW does now, in so much as the guys didn't have any respect for showmanship. It was all just athletics and indie guys coming in to do indie stuff. There was very little in the way of storylines, even though I think they did more storylines with TNA in the early days, especially because Vince Russo was involved, than AEW does. You know, they didn't just think that you could put names on posters and that was it. Even though even when it came to Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle, they at least put blood and an angle into that storyline to make it bigger. And somebody like me, who was only a tangential fan of TNA at the time, was very interested in Samoa Joe versus Kurt Angle. And even to this day, Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe 1 is one of my favorite matches, period. And it is my favorite TNA match, you know, because I knew what Samoa Joe was, because I've been watching the show. And I saw Samoa Joe beating the tar out of everybody. You know, I've seen Samoa Joe beat everybody. And now Kurt Angle is like his biggest challenge. And Kurt Angle, yes, it's his first match in TNA, but I know his reputation. Fuck, he's Kurt Angle. If you watch wrestling, you know who Kurt Angle is. So, you know, and some people may have, they have bad feelings about Kurt Angle beating Samoa Joe in that match. I thought it was great. If you're going to have anybody beat Samoa Joe, it would be fucking Kurt Angle, if anybody. You're not going to pick anybody on the fucking TNA roster to beat him. And plus, Kurt Angle's going to come in as a regular performer. That's why I wasn't so upset about CM Punk beating Darby Allin. Because CM Punk wasn't coming in to be a part-timer. He was coming in to do the full run. Then, unfortunately, they just kind of forgot Darby Allin existed after the fact. TNA didn't completely forget about Samoa Joe. They did the rematch, and Samoa Joe won the rematch. And then they did the best 2 out of 3 falls, or the Iron Man match or whatever. That whole string of Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle matches were fantastic. Now, they did forget about Joe eventually. You know, especially when he didn't win the title till like, what was it, 5 years later almost? He should have won the title shortly after his run with Kurt Angle. But, you know, that's different. The bottom line is they actually put storylines in it. There's reasons for the matches to occur. And the storylines, and the guys usually were better booked going into the match, especially during, certain stages of TNA than the way AEW does it. Guys have heat, guys are over, So it's not really the exact one-to-one comparison. And I don't think that TNA ever had the backing of a major cable corporation behind them the way AEW does too. Imagine if TNA wasn't basically paying Spike to be on Spike, essentially, and had Spike paying for some of their talent like Sting and stuff like that. Just imagine that if instead they were on a bigger network that was giving them money to be there, and they would have been able to do so much better. But the big problem with that Tony Khan has better connections than Dixie Carter and anybody who ever ran to TNA. So, he has more funding, better money than they did. So, I mean, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Let's see. The evil empire strikes again. Road Dogg out here doing VKM's dirty work. Ugh. How dare someone say something negative about AEW? Obviously, that was sarcasm. At least I think that it was sarcasm. At least I hope it does. I hope it does. At this point, it feels like every legend or famous veteran who has worked WWE has to nag about something AEW does, no matter how petty. Like the TNT title was the first ever mid-card belt to get hot potatoed. At least the way AEW does it makes it feel unpredictable sometimes. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. For starters, Tony Khan put the belt on Wardlow because everybody said put the belt on Wardlow. So he just did it. So it was kind of anticlimactic in that regard because they didn't even build it up. It was just kind of, oh, well, everybody's yelling at me that Wardlow should be a champion of some kind, so I'm just going to have to do that. That seems to be the right thing to do. And that's just, I'm going to give people what they want rather than, hey, I'm going to give them what they want, but let's take them on a ride first. I mean, I've used this example before, but it's like playing Donkey Kong and, Mario saves the princess on level 1. It's like, okay, so what's level 2? There's nothing for level 2 because you gave the people what they wanted, which is just to save the princess, so now you've done it. But if it takes 20 levels to save the princess, well, now you got a story and you've got, something that people are willing to play again and again. And, that's the difference. AEW is just kind of knee-jerk reacting to what people are telling them to do. And instead of doing the right thing, which is finding some way to deny Wardlow the TNT title and building it up and letting Scorpio Sky get some heat, and then Wardlow beats him for the belt. And instead of doing that, they did what they did. So that's why people consider it the Jabroni title. It's not just because it's a mid-card belt or because they've been hot potatoed. That wasn't really it. It was because nobody had any fucking heat. And nobody cared about it. It was basically invisible until Wardlow won it. All right, let's see here. Road Dogg was absolutely gagging for a job in AEW, was rightly not hired as he has absolutely nothing to offer wrestling in 2022, so is now doing what every, quote, old pro is doing now and ragging on AEW for listens to a shite podcast. Best to just let him do so and not listen. Yeah. I mean, I guess shitting on WWE for 30 years on a podcast, that's not because you can't get a job or you got fired or something like that. Again, this argument doesn't make any sense because you could play it in every direction. How many people have done, I got unfairly fired from WWE, so I'm going to go on this podcast and talk about it. That's seemingly every other motherfucker on a podcast these days. I got fired or they won't give me a job. There's very few people who I actually trust in their legitimate opinions of WWE because they're not trying to work there or they didn't work there within, recent years. Like if Kevin Nash was to say something about WWE, which he does, I take Kevin Nash seriously. For one, he doesn't obsess over the minutia of things. Two, he doesn't really want to work there. He's even said, publicly that if he was even offered a job training in NXT, he wouldn't even want to do it because it would drive him crazy. I think he said that he came to the GCW show and said that he doesn't understand how Sean can even train down there. He said it would drive him nuts. So he doesn't want to do it. So I could take his critiques a little bit more seriously, and he's not, watching the entire show from beginning to end to critique the minutia of it. When he critiques it, I feel like it's coming from a legitimate place. As opposed to, well, I got to fill some time on a podcast this week. So let's talk about, some stupid thing from SmackDown or, that Sasha Banks and Naomi are right. Or whatever the fuck. Who cares? But this whole thing has been absolutely hilarious. I know we don't have much more time. Probably another 6 minutes. We're going to go a full hour. Let's see if we can get a full hour out of this thing. Said, this guy, Road Dogg, making the IC title look like the TV title back in the day. Tell me how good was his reign. Do anybody of y'all remember? The only reason this guy got where he got was because of Billy Gunn. Jesse James will always be the true Mr. Asshole. Wow. Wow. No, Billy Gunn only got where he got because of Road Dogg. Now, they were a great combination of Billy Gunn was a good athlete and a good wrestler. You know, he even sold very well too, but he didn't have the charisma. You see how Billy Gunn was treated as a solo wrestler. Every time he went solo, he was the shits. But in tag teams, he could actually get over, you know, because he was good when you paired him up with somebody else. Road Dogg was a solid mid-card guy, but he wasn't going anywhere by himself, even though he had tremendous charisma. He could talk, but he couldn't really work, you know, so it was, you know, a thing where he needed somebody to work, and Billy was perfect for that. And that would make the team work, is that they were two mid-card guys who plugged the holes in one another. No, Road Dogg shouldn't have been an Intercontinental Champion. I can agree with that. He doesn't even fit what an Intercontinental Champion should be. This is the part of, you know, what was going on in the Attitude Era. It was just passing the title around. He was a new Intercontinental Champion every 2 weeks. But he was fucking over. And therefore, the belt was over when he won it. So, we can dislike it, but at least he was over. I can't say he was wrong about that. Okay. Road Dogg was just shucking and jiving for AEW to hire him during the 4th of July. You can't make this shit up. Well, I just finally saw the context of this, of Road Dogg saying that, I gotta admit, y'all look smooth. It was Tony and his dad, you know, both wearing white suits. It wasn't nothing about AEW. It was about Tony Khan. He was talking about how Tony and his dad look smooth in these white suits. And you can say that these guys looked good and then say that their show looks like shit. That's not... I'm not going to say that they look good in those suits, but I can understand what he was saying. That's just adding context to what he was saying. He wasn't talking about the show. He was talking about Tony Khan and his dad in these suits, in these pictures that they took. So, actually, I'm now sitting back saying to myself, you know, now almost a whole hour was gone. What are we talking about here? You know, this is weird. Oh, okay. So here's the thing. Apparently, Road Dogg got into an argument over Black Lives Matter at NXT TakeOver. So when that guy called Road Dogg a racist, if this is what he was talking about, let's go into this, because this was this is 2 years ago. See, my brain is shredded. Apparently, this is over George Floyd. It says Shawn Michaels got into a heated debate with another WWE producer before the show. The other producer reportedly claimed that everyone already gets treated the same in America. This angered Michaels, who attempted to explain systemic prejudice and inequality to the other producer. So Shawn Michaels has gone woke. Is that what we're being told here? That woke Shawn Michaels, which is hilarious, to say the least. And old school Confederate flag Road Dogg got into an argument over Black Lives Matter. Two white guys got into an argument about Black Lives Matter. Two old white guys got into, two old white cokeheads got into an argument. What the fuck is wrong with this business? Two old cokeheads backstage at NXT during the pandemic arguing about Black Lives Matter. What the fuck? Holy shit. Two southern old cokeheads. Oh God, I'm sweating this. Oh, praise the internet. Praise God. Oh, this is great. Woke Heartbreak Kid. We gotta do a woke Shawn Michaels bit on here somehow. Somebody's gotta be able to do a Shawn Michaels impersonation around here. We need a woke Shawn Michaels bit. He talks about systemic racism. Oh God. Whew. I wonder did he learn that in church? Well, the hell did they go to the same church? This is great. I care nothing for Road Dogg, but he sure went from legend to old wrestler really quick because he didn't get on his knees for AEW. Everyone who isn't going to like the show, and everyone has an opinion. That's true. That's absolutely true. Ooh, boy. Let's see. Tony pissing off the old school wrestling beggars will never not be funny. He's an old school wrestling beggar. Oh, whew. I'm sweating now, dog. Let's see. The people who I never want to see in AEW. Braun Strowman, Vince Russo, Jim Cornette, Hulk Hogan, Shotzi, Joey Ryan, Allison Kay, Road Dogg, Disco Inferno, Conan, Commander Aziz, The Great Khali, Almost, Buff Bagwell. What a menagerie of guys you don't want to see, and I'm pretty sure most of these you don't have to worry about. Okay, this is going to be the last one. AEW stands calling out Road Dogg for his comments. 1, you like AEW because it has indie style, so of course it resembles the indies. 2, they build Wardlow into a monster and star, then give him the secondary title and have him sell for Orange Cassidy. I see his point. Wow. Oh, God. Oh, boy. Okay, here's the last one. I have to correct Road Dogg about Wardlow. AEW did not give him the jabroni title. Wardlow literally said he isn't good enough to be a top guy and he only deserves a mid-card title, which is obviously way better. This is also why you don't listen to wrestlers. You don't listen to wrestlers. If a guy ever told you, you know what, I don't want to be world champion, it's like, what the fuck are you doing here then? Well, I'm not good enough. Like, what? You don't have no confidence? You know, like, what? Look, man, if you don't want to be world champion, you might need to go peruse the indies for a little while longer. Maybe more hot dogs and handshakes will prepare you for what we're trying to do here. You know, because we're trying to make money. I have no interest in what you think you're prepared for, sir. You gotta get ready. You know, I wouldn't wish. This is ridiculous. It's one thing to say, I don't think you're ready yet. You know, we're going to give you this title and we'll figure it out. It's another thing for you to be like, you know what? I don't really want to be world champion right now. I'm not ready yet. It's like, dude, you could tear your hamstring tomorrow. You could blow out your pecs or whatever hell and be done for the rest of the year. You could break your fucking neck in any match from this point forward. You're telling me you're not ready? That tells me you're not smart. You just need to take whatever they're going to give you. All right. Like, share, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think about this whole thing. And I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
Tell me what's worse than learning all that you led to believe was all horse crap.